Life is full of twists and turns. There are moments when everything seems quiet and we feel stuck, uncertain, or overwhelmed. Yet, it's often in these still and quiet moments that God is preparing to surprise us with blessings beyond what we can imagine. God's surprises are not random, they are intentional and perfectly timed. If you've been praying, believing, and trusting, know this: God has not forgotten you. Often before God sends a breakthrough or blessing, He gives us signs. Today, I want to share with you 10 signs that God is about to surprise you. Let these signs remind you to hold on, trust in His plan, and prepare your heart for something wonderful. Sometimes a season of delay feels like an endless wilderness, a period where our prayers seem unheard, our progress stalls, and we start to wonder if God has forgotten us. It can be difficult to remain hopeful when we're waiting on something we've been longing for, whether it's a job, healing, restoration, or breakthrough. But what we often don't realize is that delays are never wasted in God's kingdom. They are strategic. God uses delays to prepare us, to refine us, and to align every detail of His plan perfectly. It's in these seasons that He works silently but powerfully behind the scenes, setting things in motion that we cannot yet see. And when the time is right, what once seemed slow or stagnant will suddenly accelerate. Picture it like a seed that has been planted underground. For a long time, you see nothing happening above the surface, but in reality, that seed is growing deep roots. The roots are gaining strength, anchoring the plant so that when it bursts forth, it can withstand the storms. God is doing the same in your life. The delay is not a denial. It's His way of ensuring you're ready for the blessing He's preparing. Then, suddenly, when you least expect it, things begin to shift. Opportunities appear where none existed before. Prayers that seemed unanswered for years are miraculously fulfilled in days. Connections and breakthroughs fall into place in a way only God could orchestrate. What you thought was lost time transforms into a season of divine acceleration. You find yourself further ahead than you could have ever planned or imagined, because God does not operate on human timelines. He operates in Kairos time, His perfect timing, and when He moves, nothing can stand in the way. So if you're in a season of waiting, don't lose heart. Keep trusting God. Keep showing up in faith, even when it's hard. Know that your delays are leading to a season of acceleration. When God surprises you, it will be worth every moment of the wait. There are moments in life when everything around you feels heavy, and the challenges seem insurmountable. You may be walking through difficult times, uncertainty in your career, struggles in relationships, financial hardships, or even health issues, and yet, despite the external storms, there is a surprising peace that rests in your heart. It doesn't make sense, because logically you should be anxious or overwhelmed. But instead, you find yourself calm, steady, and reassured. This peace is not something you create on your own. It is a divine gift from God. It's a clear sign that He is at work, even when you cannot yet see the results. The world defines peace as the absence of trouble, but God's peace is different. It's the ability to remain confident and unshaken in the midst of trouble because you trust in His promises. This overwhelming peace comes when you stop striving and hand everything over to God, when you let go of trying to control outcomes and surrender to His perfect will. You might not know how things will work out, but deep inside, you know that they will work out because God is faithful. This is the kind of peace that surpasses all understanding, and it's often a precursor to the surprises and breakthroughs God has in store. When God is about to move in your life, this peace serves as a quiet confirmation. It is a subtle yet profound sign that His hand is orchestrating something for your good. Even when nothing in your circumstances has changed yet, you start to sense His presence in a new way. Worry begins to fade. Fear starts to lose its grip. You feel reassured in ways you can't explain. This peace doesn't mean the process will be easy or that all obstacles will immediately disappear, but it gives you the strength to keep moving forward. It reminds you that God has not forgotten you, and the battle you're fighting is already won in His hands. Sometimes this peace arrives right before the breakthrough, as if God is preparing you to receive His blessing. It's like He's whispering, "Hold on, I'm doing something you can't see yet." That peace is His promise that what He has spoken will come to pass. It's a divine indicator that you are closer than you think to seeing His favor manifest in your life. When you feel this unshakable peace, let it anchor you. Trust that God is working in the unseen, and that His surprises are on the way. Even when everything around you says otherwise, hold on to that peace. It is the bridge between your current situation and God's unexpected blessings. There are seasons in life when it feels like doors are closing all around you, relationships end, opportunities fade, and plans you were counting on fall apart. It's easy to feel discouraged, to wonder why things are being taken away or why nothing seems to be working out. But sometimes these moments of loss or stillness are preparing you for something greater. You may start noticing new opportunities appearing in your life, opportunities that you never asked for or expected. They come in ways that feel almost too perfect to be coincidence, like a job offer out of nowhere, a chance meeting with someone who opens a door for you, or an unexpected invitation that changes your course. When this happens, know that it's not by accident. God is orchestrating these moments to align you with His plan. God often surprises us by placing opportunities in our path that are better than anything we could have imagined. You might have been striving for one particular thing, working tirelessly toward your own vision, only to have it not come to pass. And just when you're about to give up, something completely unexpected emerges. These opportunities often come when we least expect them, but they are precisely what we need, tailor-made for the season we are stepping into. God knows what's best for us even when we can't see the bigger picture, and He works behind the scenes to ensure we are positioned exactly where we need to be. What's beautiful about these moments is that they are unmistakable. You'll feel a sense of divine timing, like everything is happening exactly as it should. There's no force or struggle, no need to manipulate outcomes. The opportunity will come naturally, fitting into your life in a way that feels right, like a puzzle piece finding its place. You'll recognize it as a gift from God because it often exceeds your expectations and comes at the perfect time. What you thought was a rejection or mischance was in fact God's protection and redirection, paving the way for something better. The key is to stay open and trust the process. If you're so focused on what didn't happen, you might miss the new opportunities God is placing in front of you. Sometimes the things we consider detours are really divine appointments leading us toward our purpose. God is not limited by human plans. He can use any situation, person, or moment to bring about opportunities that align with His will. When they appear, don't hesitate to embrace them. Step forward in faith, knowing that these new opportunities are signs that God is about to surprise you. He is leading you toward a season of growth, blessings, and fulfillment that only He could prepare. There comes a point in life where you begin to feel an unusual pull to let go of the old, whether it's habits, relationships, mindsets, or even plans you once held dear. This feeling doesn't come from discomfort alone. It feels purposeful, like an inner nudge guiding you towards something new. You may notice that certain friendships or relationships no longer feel the same, not because of conflict, but because you sense they no longer align with where you are heading. Perhaps you start losing interest in patterns or routines that once defined your days, things you relied on for comfort or validation, but now they feel empty. This isn't a coincidence. It's a sign that God is preparing you for something greater. And to receive it, you must release the things that no longer serve His purpose for your life. God often calls us to let go of the old, because it makes room for the new. Imagine trying to carry two suitcases, one filled with unnecessary weight and the other filled with blessings God has prepared for you. You can't carry both. Letting go of the old allows you to receive the blessings and opportunities God is about to place in your hands. It can feel difficult at first because the familiar is comfortable. The things we hold on to, even when they're not good for us, can feel safe because we've grown used to them. But God doesn't want you to settle. If He's stirring your heart to release certain relationships, break free from toxic habits, or step away from plans that don't align with His will, it's because He is calling you higher. In this season of transition, you may feel moments of discomfort, confusion, or sadness as you let go of what once felt secure. However, as you release the old, you will start to notice small glimpses of freedom and hope. You'll feel lighter, clearer, and more aligned with God's purpose for you. Letting go isn't just about removing things, it's about preparing your heart and life for something better. Sometimes we hold on to things because we're afraid of what will happen if we let them go, but God is faithful. When He asks you to release something, it's because He has already prepared something far greater in its place. This process of letting go also deepens your trust in God. It teaches you to rely on His plans rather than your own understanding. When you surrender your grip on the old, you are making a declaration of faith, saying, God, I trust that your plan for me is better than anything I'm trying to hold on to. And as you take this step of obedience, you open the door for God to surprise you. The things you let go of will pale in comparison to the blessings, opportunities, and joy He brings into your life. What seemed like a loss becomes a setup for something new, something beautiful, and something perfectly aligned with His purpose for you. Trust the process of release. Because when God calls you to let go, it's always to make room for something greater than you can imagine. There are moments in life when your prayers begin to shift. You notice that you no longer pray solely for what you want, but for what God wants for you. This is a significant sign that God is about to surprise you. It marks a spiritual transformation, a turning point where you surrender your own will and desires in exchange for His perfect plan. This shift isn't always immediate, but over time you sense your heart aligning with God's heart. Your prayers start to sound different, not just requests for comfort, success, or for specific outcomes, but deeper prayers of surrender, trust, and understanding. Instead of asking, God, give me this, you begin praying, God, show me your will and I will follow. This alignment with God's will doesn't mean you stop desiring things or hoping for specific outcomes. Rather, it means you are opening yourself up to what He knows is best for you, even if it doesn't match your plans. There's a subtle but powerful change in your spirit when this happens. You start asking for things like strength to endure challenges, wisdom to make the right choices, and clarity to discern His voice. Your relationship with God deepens, and you begin to trust Him more fully because you know that His ways are higher than yours. As your prayers shift, you begin to see things differently. Your perspective changes, and you notice that the things you once desperately wanted may not have been as good for you as you thought. Doors that closed no longer seem like failures, but protection from something that wasn't part of God's plan. New opportunities start to feel divinely orchestrated because you are no longer chasing after your own limited version of success. You are walking in alignment with His purpose for your life. When your prayers align with God's will, you also experience a deeper sense of peace and confidence. You're no longer striving or forcing things to happen. Instead, you learn to wait on God's timing, trusting that He knows exactly when and how to bless you. This doesn't mean there won't be challenges, but there's a quiet assurance that you are on the right path, even when you don't have all the answers. Your faith grows stronger as you rely less on your own understanding and more on His guidance. This alignment often paves the way for God's surprises. When you are open and surrendered to His will, He can move freely in your life. The blessings and opportunities He brings may look completely different than what you imagined, but they will be far better and more fulfilling because they come straight from Him. God's surprises are often unexpected, but they always fit perfectly into the plan He has for you. He sees the bigger picture, and when you allow Him to lead, you'll find yourself walking into blessings you didn't even know you needed. So when you sense this shift in your prayers, when you feel yourself letting go of control and asking for His will above your own, pay attention. It's a sign that God is preparing you for something beautiful. Your willingness to align your heart with His is creating space for Him to do what only He can do. You're no longer chasing after blessings, you're preparing to receive them. And when they come, they will not just meet your needs, but will exceed your expectations in ways only God can orchestrate. Sometimes, right before a breakthrough, life feels the hardest. The challenges intensify, the obstacles seem larger, and the pressure becomes almost unbearable. It's as if everything is working against you, testing your patience, your faith, and your resolve. This can feel confusing because instead of things getting better, they appear to get worse. But this is not a coincidence. It's often a sign that God is about to surprise you with a breakthrough or blessing. Before something great happens, a period of testing or opposition frequently takes place. It's during this time that your faith is refined, your endurance is strengthened, and your character is developed to prepare you for what God is about to do. Think of it like the moment just before dawn. The night feels the darkest right before the light breaks through. In the same way, the enemy often tries to distract or discourage you right before God's blessings manifest. He knows that something powerful is on the way, so he uses fear, doubt, and weariness to make you lose hope and give up. The battles intensify because you're on the verge of stepping into a new season. When you're being tested, it's not a sign that you're forgotten or failing, it's a sign that you're closer to your breakthrough than ever before. During this time of testing, God isn't absent. He's right there walking with you through every difficulty and strengthening you to stand firm. It may not feel like it, but these moments are divinely orchestrated to prepare you for the blessings to come. Sometimes the challenges are meant to prune you, stripping away the things that could hold you back. Other times the tests are meant to grow your faith, teaching you to rely on God in ways you never have before. You may face delays, closed doors, or moments of deep frustration, but God uses each trial to shape you, refine your character, and ensure you are ready to carry the blessing when it arrives. In the midst of this testing, it's important to remain steadfast. Don't let the weight of the challenges convince you to quit or to doubt God's promises. Instead, lean into Him even more. Strengthen your prayer life, dive deeper into His Word, and hold on to His faithfulness. Remember that God does not test you to harm you, but to elevate you. He allows these difficult seasons to prepare you for the very thing you've been praying for. If you give up during the test, you might miss out on the reward that was just on the other side of your perseverance. Look at the stories throughout Scripture. Before David became king, he faced years of battles, betrayals, and hardships. Before Joseph ruled in Egypt, he endured betrayal, slavery, and imprisonment. Before the Israelites reached the Promised Land, they wandered through the wilderness. These moments of testing were not punishments, they were part of God's process to prepare them for the greatness He had in store. Your story is no different. The test you are facing now is a sign that God is working, positioning, and aligning things in your favor. So if you find yourself facing an intense battle right now, take heart. It's not the end. It's a signal that your breakthrough is near. The blessing God is preparing for you is worth the fight. Stand firm in faith, hold on to His promises, and trust that the pressure you feel is producing something far greater than you can see. Soon the very thing you've been praying for will come into view, and you'll realize that every test was worth it. God is faithful, and His surprises often come when we remain steadfast through the storm. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. Don't give up now. There are moments in life when unexpected help arrives, seemingly out of nowhere, just when you need it most. It might be a kind word of encouragement from a stranger, a financial blessing when you're at your lowest, or someone stepping in to open a door you could never have opened on your own. These moments are not random, they are divine signs that God is working in your life and preparing to surprise you. He often uses people as instruments of His grace to remind you that you are not alone and that He has not forgotten you. God's help rarely comes in the way we expect it. Sometimes we look for solutions in familiar places or people, but when God intervenes, He often moves through unexpected sources. It could be a friend you haven't spoken to in years who suddenly reaches out with an offer of support, or an opportunity that comes through someone you least expected. God knows exactly what you need, and He positions the right people in your path at the right time. This divine orchestration is a sign that His plan is unfolding, even if you can't see the full picture yet. It's easy to dismiss these moments of help as coincidences, but when you look closely, you'll see God's fingerprints all over them. Maybe you're going through a season of struggle, feeling like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. You may have been praying for answers, asking for a breakthrough, or simply crying out for relief. Then, suddenly, someone steps into your life. Perhaps they offer wisdom, guidance, or practical support that eases your burden. This is God's way of showing you that He sees you, hears your prayers, and is working through others to bring about His blessings. These moments of unexpected help are also reminders of God's timing. Sometimes we grow impatient when things don't happen as quickly as we want them to, but God's help always arrives exactly when it is needed. He allows us to reach a point where we recognize our need for Him, where we understand that we can't always do it on our own. It's in those moments of surrender that His help appears, often in ways that humble us and remind us of His faithfulness. God's help is not just about solving a problem, it's about strengthening our trust in Him. When you experience unexpected help, it's a sign that God is preparing you for more. He doesn't send help randomly, He sends it to position you for the next step in His plan. Perhaps the person He sent to help you today will be the key to an opportunity tomorrow. Or maybe the support you received is the encouragement you need to keep going when you felt like giving up. God uses these moments to build your faith, teaching you that He is always with you, orchestrating details that you can't yet comprehend. In times like these, it's important to pay attention and express gratitude for the help you receive. It's easy to overlook small blessings when we're focused on the bigger picture, but those small blessings are often the building blocks of God's greatest surprises. A simple word of advice, an act of kindness, or a door opened by someone you never expected can be a divine catalyst for the breakthrough you've been waiting for. So, if you find yourself in a place where help suddenly arrives out of nowhere, take heart. This is a sign that God is at work. He is using people, circumstances, and opportunities to align your life with His plan. What feels like a small miracle today might be the very thing that leads to a greater blessing tomorrow. Trust that God sees the bigger picture, and is actively working on your behalf, sending help just when you need it most. His surprises often come disguised as unexpected help, and when you recognize them, you'll see just how close you are to the breakthrough he has prepared for you. There are times in life when you begin to notice small but meaningful shifts happening around you. These are subtle changes, things that others might overlook, but to you they feel significant. Perhaps you start seeing doors open where there were only walls before. Opportunities that once seemed impossible begin to come into view. Circumstances that you couldn't control suddenly begin to align in ways that make no sense except through God's divine intervention. These small shifts are not random, they are God's gentle whispers, signaling that He is about to do something greater in your life. Often before a breakthrough or a big surprise from God, He begins to rearrange things quietly. You might notice that people, places, or situations that were holding you back begin to fade away, making room for new possibilities. For example, a toxic relationship might come to an end, freeing you from emotional burdens you didn't even realize were weighing you down. Or perhaps you lose a job you thought was essential, only to find a better opportunity you could never have reached otherwise. While these changes may seem small or even painful at first, they are part of God's strategy to set you up for something extraordinary. Sometimes these shifts happen within you as well. You begin to feel a renewed sense of purpose or clarity about what God is calling you to do. Maybe you suddenly have the courage to take a step of faith, start something new, or leave behind a situation that no longer aligns with your spirit. Your mindset begins to change, and what once felt overwhelming or impossible suddenly feels manageable. Because you sense God's presence and guidance, you start to dream again, believe again, and hope again. These internal changes are signs that God is preparing you to receive what He has in store for you. In these moments, it's important to pay attention to the small details. God often works in ways that feel subtle at first, like seeds being planted beneath the surface. Just because you don't see the full harvest yet doesn't mean it isn't growing. Small shifts are often the first signs of God's bigger plan unfolding. They serve as reminders that He is moving on your behalf, even if the full picture hasn't been revealed yet. Think of it like a puzzle. When you're in the middle of putting it together, the individual pieces may not make sense. You may not see how they fit, and the process might feel frustrating. But as you keep going, piece by piece, the picture becomes clearer. That's how God works in our lives. He moves in small, deliberate ways, arranging every detail perfectly, so that when His plan is revealed, it all makes sense. These small shifts are evidence that He is setting things in motion, working in the background to create something beautiful for you. It's also important to remain patient and faithful during this time. Small shifts may not feel like the big breakthrough you've been waiting for, but they are proof that God is at work. Instead of becoming discouraged, lean into these changes with gratitude and anticipation. Celebrate the little victories and trust that they are leading you to something greater. God doesn't always reveal His plan all at once because He knows we may not be ready for it. Instead, He gives us glimpses, small signs, to keep us encouraged and focused on Him. When you begin to see things shifting, let it build your faith. Remind yourself that God is faithful to complete the work He started in you. These subtle changes are like a whisper from heaven saying, I'm preparing you for what's next. Keep trusting me. If you stay obedient, hopeful, and open to His leading, you will soon see how these small shifts add up to something extraordinary. The surprise God has for you will exceed your expectations and bring you into a season of blessings that only He could orchestrate. Trust the process, embrace the shifts, and know that God is about to move in a way that will leave you in awe. Sometimes when you're feeling overwhelmed, hopeless, or unsure, you start to notice a growing sense of expectancy building in your spirit. It's a quiet yet powerful feeling that something good is about to happen, even though you don't yet see the evidence of it in your circumstances. This sense of anticipation is often a sign that God is preparing you for a surprise. It's as if He is stirring something within you, a deep knowing that change is coming, even when everything around you still looks the same. This inner expectancy is not a coincidence, it's the beginning of a new season. It's God's way of preparing you to receive His blessings and surprises, signaling that the breakthrough you've been waiting for is just around the corner. When this expectancy grows within you, it often happens during times of uncertainty or after a period of waiting. You may have been praying, hoping, and working towards something, and though it hasn't yet materialized, you sense that God is about to move. This internal shift isn't tied to what you can see with your eyes, it's a stirring of faith in your heart. You might not know exactly how or when it will happen, but deep down you feel an undeniable hope rising within you. and you start believing that the impossible is possible. This is the Holy Spirit working in your heart, filling you with faith and excitement for the good things God is preparing for you. Expectancy has the power to shift your perspective. When you begin to feel this inner anticipation, your mindset changes. You start to see possibilities instead of obstacles. Your faith grows stronger, and you begin to believe that God is for you and that He is working on your behalf, even if it's behind the scenes. Expectancy helps you tune your heart to God's timing, recognizing that His delays are not denials, but rather part of the divine plan. The longer you wait, the more your anticipation builds, and when the blessing finally arrives, it feels like the perfect timing, exactly when you needed it most. Expectancy also fuels your prayers. You begin praying with renewed fervor, not because you're desperate, but because you know God is about to do something amazing. Your prayers shift from requests to declarations of faith. You start to declare God's promises over your life, confidently expecting Him to fulfill what He has spoken. Instead of doubting or worrying, you begin to boldly declare, I believe that God is moving on my behalf. I believe that breakthrough is coming. This kind of prayer activates your faith and invites God's power into your situation in a new way. When you feel a growing sense of expectancy, it's also a reminder to stay alert. God often works in unexpected ways, and the surprise He has for you may come through an unexpected source or in a way you didn't anticipate. Expectancy encourages you to be open to whatever God is doing, even if it doesn't look like what you expected. Sometimes the miracle you've been praying for arrives in the form of a new opportunity, a new connection, or even a change in your own heart and perspective. This shift in your thinking allows you to see the blessings already unfolding around you. This sense of expectancy can be contagious. As you begin to believe that God is about to do something amazing, it becomes easier to share that hope and excitement with others. Your faith encourages those around you, and you may find that others are drawn to your confidence in God's goodness. The more you speak of the good things God is about to do, the more it strengthens your own faith and the faith of those who are watching. Expectancy isn't just about waiting passively for something to happen. It's about actively looking forward to God's surprises, speaking life and hope into your circumstances, and trusting that He will do what He said He would do. In times of expectancy, it's important to remember that waiting doesn't mean nothing is happening. Often, when you feel the stirring of anticipation, God is working behind the scenes, arranging things you can't see. There are things happening in the spiritual realm that will soon manifest in the physical world. Expectancy helps you trust that God is actively involved in your situation, even when you can't yet perceive the details. This trust is what keeps you moving forward with hope, even when your circumstances don't reflect the change you're anticipating. As your expectancy grows, so does your ability to receive what God has prepared for you. This expectancy prepares your heart and mind to recognize the blessings when they arrive. Sometimes we can miss God's answers because we're focused on what we think we need or how we think things should look. But expectancy helps us remain open, keeping our hearts ready to receive whatever God has for us, knowing that it will be better than anything we could have imagined. When God surprises you, it will often exceed your expectations. The blessing you've been waiting for may come in a form you never imagined, or at a time when you least expected it, but when it does, you'll realize that the wait was worth it. The surprises God has for you are never random. They are part of His perfect plan for your life. Your sense of expectancy, the stirring in your spirit, is the signal that God is at work, moving on your behalf and preparing to reveal something wonderful in your life. As you continue to trust, pray, and wait with expectancy, you're positioning yourself to receive the abundance, peace, and blessings He has in store for you. There are seasons in life when you feel as though everything is coming together perfectly, and you begin to experience a deep sense of peace and alignment. It's almost as if your entire life is shifting in the right direction, and things that once seemed confusing or out of place start to make sense. This clarity and harmony are often signs that God is about to surprise you with something extraordinary. You may begin to notice that doors are opening, relationships are flourishing, and opportunities are aligning in ways that feel like divine orchestration. This is a key indicator that you are about to step into a season of blessings and breakthroughs that you didn't even see coming. When things begin to flow smoothly and fall into place, it's not just coincidence, it's God's hand at work, positioning you for something greater. At times, the path we walk is full of obstacles, challenges, and confusion. But when God is about to surprise you, He makes everything work together for your good, even if you didn't realize it was happening. These moments of clarity and alignment signal that you are on the right path and that God is preparing to bless you in ways you didn't expect. It may be an unexpected promotion, a financial breakthrough, or a new relationship that begins to bloom. But whatever it is, it's a clear sign that God is moving in your life in a powerful way. Another sign that God is about to surprise you is the increased favor you begin to experience. You may notice that people are more open to helping you, opportunities are presenting themselves, and you are receiving favor in areas where you once struggled. This isn't just random, it's God's favor surrounding you, making ways where there once were none. God's favor often appears as people unexpectedly stepping in to support you, opportunities that were once out of reach becoming attainable, or things aligning in your favor with little effort on your part. It's a reminder that God's favor isn't something you earn, but something He freely gives to those who trust Him and walk in His purpose. When you begin to experience this favor, it's also a sign that you've been faithful in the small things. God often rewards those who are faithful in the small moments, even when they feel unnoticed or unimportant. If you've been diligently working, staying patient, and trusting God in the areas where you haven't yet seen results, this period of favor is a reward for your faithfulness. It's also an invitation to continue walking in obedience, knowing that God sees every effort, every prayer, and every step of faith you've taken. This favor is a confirmation that you are aligned with His will and that He is about to elevate you to a new level. Another sign that a surprise is on the way is when you feel a sense of deep peace and rest in your spirit. Often, before God moves in powerful ways, He gives His children a supernatural peace that transcends understanding. This peace is not based on circumstances, but comes from knowing that God is in control and that His plans are good. When you experience this peace, it's a sign that God is about to reveal His plans for you in a way that will bring you joy and fulfillment. It's as if God is saying, "Trust me, I'm about to do something great, and I have everything in hand." This peace also helps you to let go of control. When God is about to surprise you, He often requires you to release your own plans and trust His timing. You may have spent time working hard to make things happen, but now God is asking you to rest in His sovereignty and trust that He will make it happen for you. This peace is a confirmation that God is working on your behalf, even when you can't see it with your physical eyes. You can rest in the assurance that His plan is unfolding, and your job is to remain faithful and patient as you wait for the surprise that is on its way. At the same time, when God is about to surprise you, you might notice that your dreams and desires are being reawakened. Perhaps you felt stagnant for a while, unsure of what's next, but suddenly new desires and passions begin to stir within you. These renewed dreams are not random, they are a sign that God is preparing you to step into a new season of growth and opportunity. As He opens doors in your life, He often reawakens your heart to the things you've longed for, but couldn't see coming to fruition. When this happens, embrace these desires with faith, knowing that they are a sign that God is leading you into something greater. Additionally, during this time of preparation, you may find that past wounds and disappointments begin to heal. God often uses these seasons of surprise to bring restoration and healing into areas of your life that have been broken. If you've been carrying hurt or disappointment from the past, you might start to feel lighter, as if God is lifting a weight off your shoulders. This healing is part of God's process to prepare you for the new blessings He is about to release. It's a sign that you're no longer defined by your past struggles, but that you're moving forward into a new chapter, free from the chains of your former pain. Another sign that God is about to surprise you is the increase in your faith. As you walk through life, you may face challenges that test your trust in God. But when a surprise is near, your faith begins to grow stronger. You start believing for things you once thought were impossible, and you trust more deeply in God's timing and provision. This growth in faith is a preparation for the blessings that are on the way. When God is about to surprise you, He often strengthens your faith so that you can fully embrace and steward the blessings He is about to give you. As these signs begin to manifest in your life, it's important to remain vigilant and open to God's leading. Stay in prayer, continue trusting, and embrace the changes that come. The surprise God has for you will often come in ways you didn't expect, but when it does, you will see that it was perfectly designed for you. Whether it's a new opportunity, a relationship, or a breakthrough in an area of your life, God's surprises are always good, always timely, and always better than anything you could have planned for yourself. When you sense these signs, rejoice, for God is about to move in ways that will exceed your expectations and bring you into a season of great blessing and fulfillment.